Assalamualaikum everyone and good afternoon. Today I will be a moderator for our forum. My name is Ahmad Ismail Haziq bin Azman, and now I will introduce to you all the audience about our panel. First, Muhammad Arif bin Muhammad Sharif. Second panel, Muhammad Sofian Hakim. Panel 3, Haimi Muhammad Jamil. Panel 4, Nazhan. Panel 5, Haziq Farhan. And panel 6, Ahmad Shah. Today topic we will talk about Islamic system, production and consumption. So do not waste our time. Let me start with panel number 1, Mr. Haris.
Thank you, Mr. Ma'al. I would like to explain about the concept of production in Islamic economics. Carries a very broad meaning and it emphasizes the production of useful and beneficial goods service offered to consumer with optimal use of resources. The production process will ensure that raw and human resources are fully utilized to produce goods that are able to provide maximum satisfaction to consumer in order to meet the needs. In the aspect of the production, the producer-consumer relationship is supply. Production is an economic process related to supply. It is important because without it, distribution and consumption will be stunned and human beings will fail to obtain basic necessity, thus making their life difficult. Without engaging in production activities, a person in terms of religion in committing an offense to humanity. Production activities must be implanted so that the needs of society can be met until there is a balance of demand supply. That's all for me.
Thank you, Mr. Haris. Okay, we know. Thank you, Mr. Haris, for the introduction about our topic. Then we go to panel number 2. Sofian Hakim will talk about system of production.
Thank you, Mr. Ismail, our moderator, for the question. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Sufian Hakim bin Ahmad Pandi, and I will talk about the system of production. First of all, the meaning of production is making, but in terms of economics, production is the process of combining different raw material in order to make something for consumption, output, or products. Some companies refer to a batch of product manufactured at the same time as a manufacturing run. It essentially refers to a production process or the end product of a manufacturing process. In the Islamic worldview, Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala is the one and only God that recognized as the universe true master. All creation must follow and obey all the rules that Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala make. For the example, in the production process, human can take the resources in the earth, but must take it accordingly. This action can affect the environment, such as resource depletion, landscape alteration, energy harnessing, and even the death of other living things. These actions are acceptable in Islam based on the concept of tazkir, where all other creatures have been created by Allah SWT to be subservient to human. There are few factors of production that are a key economic term that describe the component required to create a product or service for sale. Usually, they are separate into 4 items, which are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. Land can have many definitions for factors of production and can be in different types like agricultural, commercial, and resources. Labor can be defined as the work given in by an individual to bring a product or service to the market. The third one is capital. In the economic term, is liquid asset or cash that available for spend to the project. And lastly, the entrepreneurship is people who invented or created a new business or idea. The entrepreneur is frequently portrayed as a leader or provider of brilliant ideas, products, services, and business processes. While in the Islamic economy, there is no particular Sharia restriction on the classification of factor of production. Any division of factor is permissible. Some scholars classify the production factors into three categories, which are capital, labor and entrepreneurship, and natural resources. Usually, land refers to natural resources like soil, mineral, water and other natural resources. Land are a gift from Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala to humankind to get their benefit by produce it to the final goods and services. Land and natural resources owner receive rental revenue in the form of factor payment. The labor is human work and effort in the production of goods and services. Labor will get the payment in the form of salary of wages as factor payment. The next is capital of intermediate products such as factory, transportation and logistics that are required in the production of goods and services. The return of capital is too difficult to be calculated, but it can be measured as a rent and applicable in the Islamic economics. And lastly, the entrepreneur is the person in charge of controlling and combining land, labor and capital in order to generate goods and services. That's all from me. Back to the Mr. Ismail.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sofyan, for the little about system of production. Okay, now we will go to Haimi Muhammad Jamil about position of labor.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, I will continue my present about position of labor. So labor means that those who work manually, especially in the labor force of the construction and factory industry. So I will give a comparison between Buddhism and Islamic based on Schumacher of point of view. So for Buddhism, Schumacher point out that there are at least three functions in work. First is give people the opportunity to develop using the skill. Second is to allow him to overcome his selfish attitude by joining other in the same job. And third is to create the product and service necessary for existence. So if we agree that with the Buddhism view of work, in Sukamisha view, organizing work that goes against the above function is a crime that makes the work very meaningless, boring, confusing, and annoying to the worker. As for Islamic alternative, the conflict between employer and employee that occur in the materialistic economy paradigm would be ridiculous from an Islamic point of view. So the goal of production under capitalists is maximize the profit of capitalists, which reduce the labor to the factor of production, that means that the manufacturing process of commodities. So as I will give some concept of labor in the Islamic perspective. So first is labor is a brothers. Labor as a human being, as a fundamental honor that directly given by God. As the Prophet ﷺ said, the worker are your brother who but has power over you. So whatever has a worker should be given food as he eats, given clothes as he wear, and should not be forced to do something he's not able to. If forced, there should be help. If he forced, he should be helped. Hadis riwayat Ahmad. Second is the command to treat well to the worker. It is undeniable that Islamic highly uphold the honor of each individual, so that in the matter of employment also cannot be justified if an employee makes his worker or employer as a human being who are less respected. Islam is very concerned about worker. Labor get a very high place as an employee, just as employer also work by hiring him. Thus, obligate to create an atmosphere or kinship between employer and worker. So that is assignment to the workload must not exceed ability. Islam also provide clear rules in the term of employment contract transaction, where Islam provide law that employer must observe to provide protection for workers, such as protection concern, protection of worker, and decent rest of time. So that's all from me. Thank you. I will give it to moderator.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jaime. Okay, now we'll go to panel number 4, Mr. Nazhan. What is full employment?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Nazhan bin Amri. First of all, I would like to thank to our moderator for giving me the opportunity to talk. Okay, for unemployment versus full employment. First of all, we must know what is full employment. Full employment is an economic condition in which all available labor resources are used to their full potential. Full employment refers to the most skilled and unskilled worker that can be employed at the same time in a given economy. True full employment is an ideal and likely unattainable state in which everyone who is willing and able to work can find work and unemployment is zero. It, it is theoretical goal for economic officials to strive for rather than a real world economic situation. In practice, economists can distinguish between various degrees of full employment that are associated with low but non-zero unemployment rates. The most important thing to know, when all available labor resources are utilized in the most efficient way feasible, the term full employment is used. Full employment refers to the most skilled and unskilled worker that can be employed at any time in a given economy. Economists identify many sorts of full employment as policy aimed based on their theories. Okay, let's we overview of full-time employment. In an economy with no involuntary unemployment, full employment is considered the ideal employment rate. Labor full employment is one aspect of an economy that is producing at the frontier of production capabilities and operation at maximum productivity. If there is unemployment, the economy is not operating at full capacity, and economic efficiency could be improved. Full employment, on the other hand, may not be feasible due to the impossibility of eliminating all forms of unemployment. Next, we go to inflation. Inflation is a possibility with full employment. Products and services are in high demand when the employment rate falls below the full employment rate. Full employment usually results in an increase in wages which raise business costs. Companies that have increased their costs typically compensate by raising the price of their product and service, which is defined as inflation. Next, we go to types of unemployment. Cyclical, traction, frictional, and institution factors are contribute to unemployment. Policymakers can be focused on addressing the root causes of each of these types of unemployment, but they may have to sacrifice other policy goals in the process. We go to the structure. The goal of promoting technological progress may result in structured unemployment. Workers, for example, may become obsolete as factories become more automated or artificial intelligence becomes more common. For institutions, economical policies that have impact on the economy cause institution and employment. Examples include government program that promote social justice and provide substantially safety net benefit, as well as labor phenomena uh, such as discriminatory hiring. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nazhan. So, there are various views from economic scholars about globalization. Panel number 5, Haziq Farhan, can you tell us about it?
Thank you to Mr. Moderator, Mr. Mael. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Haji Farhan bin Ahmad Zamri, and I'm going to explain the globalized system of production. There are various views from economic scholars about globalization. The term globalization is usually used to describe the borderless nation, where trading between countries occurs purposely to expand business and the economic growth. Basically, globalization refers to the flexibility of the world economy in matters of trade and international funds, such as foreign portfolio investment, where it strengthens the relationship between government, companies, and society. Based on studies on globalization, it is said that globalization has occurred centuries ago. Many historians stated that globalization first began on the gold standard in the 1800s. Meanwhile, there is also an opinion from the Islamic perspective that say that the history of globalization began when the Prophet Muhammad SAW migrated from Mecca and established the Islamic State in Medina in 322 Masehi. Nowadays, globalization has become a trend where many countries have done globalization, such as trading with other countries. Allah says in the Quran, Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 13, O mankind, we have created you from a male and a female, and made you into races and tribes, so that you may identify one another. Surely the noblest of you in Allah's sight is the one who is most pious of you. Surely Allah is all-knowing, all-aware. This verse implies that God commands us to know each other in order to cooperate in all respects, including cooperation in economic activities and trade. Okay, we move to the next point, which is benefit of globalization of production. One of the benefit of globalization of product is the lower cost of product. Globalization allows companies to decrease the cost of manufacturing their products. When the cost of producing the product decreases, many companies will globalize their products, which will increase global competition. Therefore, there will be a lot of products produced, and the price of the product will go down dramatically. Thus, people who live in both developing and developed countries will lead to a more comfortable life, since they can afford to buy various products at cheap price. Next, the spread of technology and innovation is also one of the benefits of globalization. Developed countries have more advanced and evolved technology compared to less developed countries. With globalization, developed countries can connect with developing and less developed countries, which make knowledge and technology spread quickly around the world. Due to that, even less developed countries could use advanced technology that could help with growth of their economies. After that, the globalization of production also helped to gain access to a new market. Market access means the ability of a company to sell its product in a global market. Globalization can help businesses promote their brand and sell their products to many other countries. For example, like McDonald's. Globalization also helped the business to create a lot of new customers from around the world, a lot of franchise restaurants, and many other benefits due to globalization. After that, we move to the next point, which is challenge of globalization of production. One of the challenges is increased competition. Many companies from developed countries are expanding their businesses products around the world to gain a lot of profit. However, this can be detrimental to local products in less developed countries. Products from developed countries will attract the interest of the public with its more advanced technology, causing local products to be unpopular, which can make the business growth to decline. For example, in Malaysia, branded smartphone products such as Huawei, Lenovo, Oppo, and iPhone are often marketed and sold in large quantities, while Malaysian products and anthology smartphones do not get much attention with their products. Next, challenge of globalization of product include incurring tariff and export fees on business products. A tariff is tax charge on goods or services when goods and services cross a border. For example, a 15% tariff was imposed on imported goods from other countries, such as automobiles. With tariff and fees, the price of a product from overseas will be higher than the price of domestic product, which make the domestic product become more attractive to local customers due to their prices. As a result, managers from foreign companies must carefully plan their business strategy for managing tariff and export fees in order to compete with domestic product. Last point of the challenge of globalization is environmental concern. There have been many environmental issues since the increase in globalization. Common examples of environmental issues include many forests having cut down for infrastructure development, the increase in transportation of goods that has released a lot of greenhouse gas emission, and many other issues. Such issues frequently occurred even though the government had issued many laws and regulations regarding the environmental issue to preserve the wellness of the environment. Hence, it is not only concern for government, but also the concern for the business to take part in preventing the issue. Business should also prioritize their business operation to be environmentally friendly to sustain the environment. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Haziq. Okay, now we go to our last part of our topic, question of sustainability of consumption, and it will be explained from our panel number 6, Mr. Ahmad Shah. Welcome.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ma'el Ajit. Okay, we go to consumption. Buddhism is an approach which considers consumption as an instrument to maximize human well-being using at least amount of resources. Modern economists assumes that a man who consumes more is better off than a man who consumes less. From an Islamic perspective, deliberate indulgence in competition for materialist influence can most likely lead a person astray. A community where everyone focuses on their needs while surplus is used to help the poor will have enough for everyone's economy sustains unless everyone is poor. Islam does not prohibit one from becoming rich. In fact, various companions of Prophet Muhammad (SAW) were wealthy but perhaps not hungry for more wealth, neither they opted for luxurious lifestyle. Also in Quran even refers to such wealth as a test from Allah SWT in Quran Surah At-Taghabun verse 15. Those who have more are required to spend on the protection and propagation of Islam and to help the needy segment of society. On the question sustainability of consumption, from Buddhist perspective, exploitation of nature in an unsustainable way for the sake of maximizing returns would be an act of violence, such as act of exploitation of non-renewable energy sources can lead to violence between men as well. From Islamic perspective, could there be any justification to willingly contribute in the growth of an economic system which has produced such disastrous results? If only India's population attempts to increase their lifestyle equal to an average American, the entire planet do not even have one-fourth of resources required for that matter. Okay, Quran clearly goes against the extravagant use for the resources by developed nations. Also, weekend production cannot be reduced unless there is an analogous demand of consumption. Unsustainable consumption may happen when the life of extravagance is normalized. Islamic production and consumption system would stand in contrast to its Western counterpart, participating directly or financially in production activity which is socially and environmentally unsustainable should be out of question. That's it, Mr. Maharaji.
Thank you, Mr. Amar. Okay,
Welcome,
now
welcome.
we all heard about our panel explanation. Now we will continue. Now I will continue to a conclusion about our topic. In the pretext of developing an Islamic economic system, the Islamic finance sector is now fooling an SPC employed by modern entrepreneurs that is unsustainable and correspond to a materialist mindset. To try to shift the cost of the economy by Islamizing solely the financial system while disregarding the SPC is like to trying to change the direction of a car by changing the direction of a trolley being pushed by the car. The repercussion of supplying products, energy, and infrastructure in a socially and environmentally unsustainable manner for the sole purpose of boosting corporate wealth cannot be justified by Islamic teachings. How can the rise of the Islamic finance industry explain the bad externalities of its major beneficiaries, contemporary SPC, in this context? Environmental damage, collapse of the rural economy, increasing type of employment in town and country, and the emergence of a city proletariat without nutrition for either body or spirit are examples of externalities. A review of current research suggests a similar scenario as well. This work seeks to provide a step-by-step decision based on Islamic's meta-economics paradigm. In contrast to its modern version, this article does not claim to have provided all the necessary details for establishing the respective system. However, it does provide a path forward for the next generation of Islamic economists and Muslim entrepreneurs in understanding the necessary details of a system capable of delivering results as inspired by Quran and Sunnah teaching. Attempts to make modern financial institutions Sharia compliant may not be enough to attain these outcomes. Having clarity in this regard may enable concerned scholars to comprehend those market sectors inside Muslim nations that are more similar to the SPC alternative mentioned. This may also let Muslim entrepreneurs and concerned intellectuals to focus their efforts on building and sustaining holistic socio-economic alternative in Muslim cultures rather than embracing the capitalist SPC. Okay, that's all for our topic this afternoon. Thank you to all our panel for giving the explanation. Okay, that's all from us. Thank you.